across. Okay, what about him as a leader? All right. Okay, so his particular skills. He's a great speaker. You must have sat, doing this GCSE, you must have sat through about an hour's worth of his speeches in different segments. And year on year, every year, kids watch him when he speaks. Not because you understand what he's saying, but it's how he says it. He had a gift for public speaking. All right? So, people wanted to listen to this man speak. Okay? He was a strong leader. He promised the Germans what they wanted. They were fed up of weak, ineffective leadership. They wanted strong, dynamic leadership. And he says, I'm the man to give you that. And he was the front man of the party. He was the Nazi party. What he said was law. He was the poster boy of the Nazis. Their trump card. When you voted for the Nazi party, you were voting for Hitler. Not like in a British election where if you like the leader of a party, you have to vote for their MP. No, in Germany he said you vote for the Nazis, you vote for me. He was a modern politician. He got out there amongst the people and met the people. He flew from one city to another, from one meeting to another. Was driven from the airport to the convention centres. He spoke to tens of thousands of people. He felt he needed to. Older politicians, they hoped the people would come to them. That he was a modern politician. Propaganda made him out to be a remarkable politician. And finally, very importantly, he was pragmatic. He told the people what they wanted to hear, but very rarely made any promises about how he would do it. Now, he was lucky he didn't live in an age like we are today, where anyone says can be reported and broadcast anywhere over the world. Back in the 1930s, he could have one meeting with some rich businessmen and promise them one thing, and then go to a meeting with ordinary workers and promise them something different. Yes, he was very pragmatic. He knew what he wanted. He wanted power, and the way in which he would get that power, well, he'd do it how he felt was necessary at the time. He was pragmatic. So why else did the Nazis appeal? They obviously had Hitler. What else did they have going for them? All right. They were organised. When Germany was seemingly falling apart at the seams, was chaotic and disorganised, the Nazis gave off the impression of being organised. The Germans like organisation. They don't like chaos. Hitler gave the impression of organisation and strength. Yeah? Torchlit parades. Men in uniform. Men marching in uniform. What you could see when you looked at that were men who were controlled. What you could infer was organisation and strength, and that's what Germany needed. The Nazis told people what they wanted to hear. And because he never promised how he'd do things, he was able to tell Matt what Matt wanted to hear, Joe what Joe wanted to hear. If the people didn't like their policies, they changed their policies. Brilliant kind of politician. Even the name of the party appealed to different people. If you were a nationalist on the right, the National Socialist German Workers' Party sounded good. If you were a socialist, well, the name socialist is in the party. That sounds good. If you're a worker, it's in the title. The party seemed to appeal to everyone. And they kept their ideas straightforward. We've talked about work, bread and freedom. Yeah? Simple slogans like, we want to make Germany strong again. They got real mass appeal in many of these things that they're saying. So all of these multi-causal reasons account for why Hitler comes to power. In 1933. So what were the weaknesses of the Weimar? We've done that. We did that last time. They were unpopular. They signed the Treaty of Versailles. No one liked them for that. After 1929, the German economy was going badly after the Wall Street crash. Everyone hated them for that. They were lined up ready to be shot down. Article 48 in the Weimar Constitution was also there waiting to be exploited. All that was required would be a national emergency. And as Germany fell apart after the Wall Street crash, extremists on the left and on the right became more and more powerful, as people gave up on democracy and sought alternatives. So Weimar was weak. As long as Germany was economically strong, the Weimar Republic would survive. But no one really liked it. Finally, the deals that were struck between these men got Hitler into power. Hindenburg the president, Hitler the leader of the biggest party, the Nazis, von Papen and von Schleicher. All of these three men would have their opportunity to be Chancellor under Hindenburg. And it was a deal struck between these men that got Hitler into power in 1933. Okay. Hindenburg never liked Hitler. Hindenburg was a field marshal, Hitler was only ever a corporal. Yet they didn't like one another. Okay? But eventually, with advice from von Schleicher and from von Papen, Hitler was made Chancellor. Not because they liked Hitler, but because they believed they could use Hitler's popularity for their own advancement. They naively believed that they could control Hitler. Von Papen believed that they had pushed Hitler so far into a corner that he would squeak. So in January 1933, they gave Hitler the chancellorship believing they could control him. Believing that by giving him what he wanted, the chancellorship, that was all he would ever need. And the first thing Hitler does when he's given the chancellorship is he calls another election and risks losing it all. Because Hitler is not going to be controlled. So he becomes Chancellor in 1933 as a combination of all of those factors. Okay, the weaknesses of Weimar, the political maneuverings of Schleicher, von Papen and Hindenburg, the organisation and appeal of the party, the leadership skills he has himself, the propaganda, the promotion, as Michael says, of the Nazi Party and their ideals, and finally, the depression, which Matt thinks is the most important reason as to why they came to power.